Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are dialing in from. Welcome to our Tech20. This is our fourth of this season, so this is the last one before we all head off on our summer vacations or breaks, or potentially just sitting more in front of our screens during our restrictions that are still ongoing. So my name is Rebecca Allison. I'm Head of Emissions Reduction at the Net Zero Technology Centre, and I will be the host chair for today. And before I do some introductions to Chris, Anna will also be joining us as part of the Q&A and panel discussion at the end. So Chris, if I just get you to move on to the next slide. So for our housekeeping general rules, I think everybody's familiar with this now. So everybody's automatically muted and your cameras will be off. We are using the Q&A function, so please feel free to raise some questions, discussion points, your thoughts on Chris's topic of conversation today. The more discussion points, the better. So we'll be looking forward to that. And this session is being recorded, so hopefully you're all happy with that concept. And we will be publishing this through our social media channels after the event. So I'm not going to introduce Chris because I'm sure he can do that himself. So I'm going to hand over to you and let yourself introduce yourself and the talk today, but we are very much looking forward to this. Let's say this is part of our season one, living in the virtual world and looking at how technology can help us in this virtual world. So this is why it's interesting to us. But over to you, Chris. You have 20 minutes. We will cut you off after the 20 minutes. We will then go into 20 minutes Q&A panel discussions, and then we have a 20-minute networking session at the end where we will post a link and you can join. Those that want to have to discuss further can come into the conversation. So there'll be a link to our breakout rooms after the 20 minutes. So I will hand over and your 20 minutes starts now.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. I don't reckon I've done anything in 20 minutes of my life, so let's see how this goes, right? Anyway, hopefully you guys can all hear me okay. And you can see my slides, so if I could just get a thumbs up from Anna or Rebecca that that's the case. Awesome. So, hey folks, my name is Chris Huntingford. I work at a company called Avanade, who is part of the Accenture group. So if you don't know, Accenture are one of the largest auditing firms. They're about 605,000 people, and Avanade are about 40,000 people. So we are the Microsoft branch of that organization. And yeah, my focus is on a tool called Power Platform, which I'll talk to you a little bit about later. But one of the key things around this is that, we'll get into the technology shortly. If you'd like to chat, just hit me up on these links. Not super urgent if you don't want to, but if you do, also hit me up in the chat. I've got it open on the left-hand side, just to let you know. So if you see me looking around, it's because I'm looking at the chat and looking at you. Cool. Right. So I guess today, we've got a little bit of an awesome subject to talk about. Now, it's not rainbow unicorn cats, I promise. What's important here is when we started to go through this whole COVID process, I'm not going to lie, stuff got a bit weird, didn't it? I'm pretty certain that some of you are in different places in the world. I mean, so for some of you, it's evening, some of you, it's morning, and some of you are in the UK at the same time zone as me. But yeah, stuff got pretty weird, didn't it? And I think, in the first set of lockdowns, people started panicking. I myself did the same thing, when I started thinking about what I was going to do with my life after I got locked in this tiny little room that you can't see because I have a virtual background on, I really started freaking out a little bit. And what I also started to notice is that my calendar just got absolutely jam-packed. I don't know about you. I mean, this is a calendar I found on the internet. Can I show you something cool? This is my actual calendar. And that's just one example. I mean, if I had to show you guys some of the different weeks that I've had, I've just been like overbooked. Do you know something crazy? I book in sleep in my calendar. I'm not kidding you guys. I'll tell you why, because the company that I work in a global role. And, people aren't often conscious of time zones. So they just book random things, right? And it's quite insane because if I don't actually show people that I'm busy, they just book stuff. And I don't know about all of you as well, but in my calendar, people don't even check my calendar sometimes. They just go ahead and book random things in. I get super bothered about that. And I feel as if I'm a bit like Gollum from the Lord of the Rings, where my calendar is my precious, right? I have to maintain that calendar all day. And it's crazy because when I chat to my colleagues, I always say to them, hey, just check my calendar. And again, it's just something that's so important to me. The utilization of my time is so important to me. When I was chatting to Rebecca before this event, it got interesting because, we had a 30-minute call, and I actually weigh in how important calls are going to be to me, right? Now, it sounds super arrogant, and I promise you it's not. It's just utilization of time. But when somebody says to me, hey, Chris, can we have a 30-minute call? I actually say to them, like, what's the agenda? What's the plan? What do you want to get out of it? And often people say to me, no, I just want to chat. And it sounds mean, but actually, I just don't have time for that sometimes. Sometimes I don't have time to kind of shoot the breeze. I've really just got to get my day job done. So I often ask people why they want to talk, what the engagement is needed, what their engagement needs to be, right? And it sounds terrible, but at the same time, when you are on these calls every day, all day, you start wondering about the fact that, like when you even go to the toilet, it sounds bonkers, right? I mean, you can even see today, right? Sorry, I don't have today's on, but you can even see like one of the days, I literally didn't have a patch to go to the loo. Now, here's something crazy, my friends. Think about this. When you go back to work, are people going to expect the same level of productivity from you? When you go and sit in an office, are people going to expect the same level of productivity? Is it fair to say that you need to be online all the time? It's probably not, right? So one of the things I started picking up real quick is that I'm lucky I'm in a global role again, so I get to kind of work across all time zones. But the way that I see it is that when I go back to work, when I go and physically sit in an office, am I going to be able to go to gym in the morning at 5 a.m.? Probably not. Do you know why? Because that's when I'll spend traveling. Am I going to be able to go home? And you can see in my calendar, am I going to be able to go and feed my kids? Am I going to be able to go and cook dinner? When will I take lunch? Am I going to have the same level of productivity? I hate to say it, but the answer is no, you're not, right? Now, one of my favorite human beings, Henry Ford, said, if you keep doing what you always did, you will get what you will get what you always got. Now, that's a great point, right? So if you keep doing what you did, you will get what you always got. Unfortunately, during COVID, we haven't had that opportunity. We just don't have the time frame. So I'm gonna fix that quote, right? And the market for what you always did is totally different now. If you keep doing what you always did, there is a chance you may get less of what you always got. Now, I'm going to leave that there for a second because I want you to think about this. When you start looking at the time frame and the time that you're spending on your calendar doing work, and all that time you're spending traveling and interacting, when do you actually do your job? Right? When do you go ahead and actually do your job? Can I tell you, I'm freaked out by that because, like, at least at home, I've got 8 hours to sit behind my PC and build solutions and create stuff. But when I'm traveling, I either take that time out of my personal time or out of my work time. Friends, your calendar is the most important thing in the world, right? But it's freaky because I know when I have to go back to work, I'm actually going to be doing less. That's scary, isn't it? That's terrifying. So I hate to say it, but something's got to change. You have to change. Your companies have to change. The way that you interact with people has to change, which is quite exciting, actually, because I know you can't see my hands flapping around because of the background, but it's quite exciting because I think that this is an opportunity for all of you, right? And it's an opportunity for me. Now, one thing that I'm desperately in love with is technology. I absolutely love tech. Now, you can call me a nerd, you can call me a geek. I promise you now, guys, I'm like covered in tattoos and I'm still a super nerd. I love it. I absolutely love technology, right? And I use technology every day to change the way that I do things. And you're probably thinking, oh, this is another marketing message. Yeah, I'm going to get onto that. Microsoft has a mission, right? Microsoft say their mission is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to do more. Okay, I can get on board with that. Sounds pretty esoteric, but let's get on board with that, right? Let's assume that we're going to be able to do more, right? So a couple of things that I've discovered is in the current times that we work in with all this, I'm going to call it calendar craziness, right? In this calendar crazy time, what I know is that I need solutions to solve my problems. Okay. I do now. I mean, look, there are multiple things that you could use, but I need a solution to solve my problems right now. And whether it's technology or not necessarily technology, something's got to change. So Microsoft actually did some research, and they figured out that because of the route that we're going, the demand for mobile solutions, and especially on the go, has grown faster than any IT department can deliver. You know that. So if you're an IT person, I bet you've got business people banging down your door trying to get stuff done. And if you're a business person, I bet you're banging down IT's door to get stuff done, you know. Now, here's something insane. Now, I know they say 45.6% of stats are made up on the spot, but this is a real thing, right? In the next 5 years, 500 million new solutions will be built, and that's more than in the last 40 years, okay? So I can see there are 43 people on this call. That means that if all of us started building solutions right now, we spent every minute of our waking days building solutions, we would never hit that number. Another stat, and this is backed by Gartner and Forrester, is that 65% of solutions that you build will be done with a thing called low code, no code. Whoa, hold the phone. Did I just throw a development term in there? Yeah, I absolutely did, right? Because the reason that I threw that in is because so many organizations are facing an issue with what we call digital transformation. Now, I know that you've probably heard that term a million times. So if you're playing buzzword bingo, you can go ahead and cross it off your bingo score sheet. But digital transformation is a real thing. Did you know that when I chat to organizations, they're still running around with stuff like this? I know you can't really see that. There we go. Okay, that, my friends, is a piece of paper. It's called a waybill. Okay. This, for me, is poisonous. Don't like it. You know why? Because it doesn't allow me the ability to change the way that I do things, okay? That means that somebody has to do extra work. They have to take time out of their calendar to do extra work. So the thing that scares me the most is that when I look at the way organizations are trying to transform during things like COVID, it's scary because of the fact that they haven't been able to do it. They haven't been able to embrace things like technology to help them. When I look at the different challenges, and you're probably going through this yourselves, I'll give you an example. I remember chatting to a number of, possibly you on the call, and we were talking about wind turbines and how to manage maintenance on wind turbines. And it was crazy because people were running around with bits of paper, climbing up ladders, strapping themselves into harnesses and filling stuff out with a piece of paper. Why? How long do you think it's going to take somebody else in the background to capture that information that you just put on that piece of paper? Also, I just have to say, paper's fine except when there's fire and it's raining. So think about this, right? You're up there on with a clipboard and it starts pissing down with rain. Yeah, you got a problem, okay? So the way we do things needs to change. We have to digitally transform, okay? And it's really important to do this. It's really important to know that when you look at all these challenges on the slide, and I'm not going to read them out to you, there are so many things that every single one of you are experiencing right now, okay? Now, what's pretty good, what's really awesome is that when we're chatting to organizations about changing the way that they treat their employees, okay, and use their time, we know that organizations want to go faster. They want to build things faster. They want to be able to create things faster. I can guarantee you every single one of you on this call right now is either working on an Excel spreadsheet right now or has one available on their desktop that you're not sharing, okay? The problem with that type of thing, ask the NHS, just by the way, it's not a great place to put data. They deleted 15,000 COVID records. Give them a clap. Anyway, it's important for you to know that you need to go faster. You need to solve those problems faster. You need to remove yourself from the world of spreadsheets and disparate systems. And what I'm finding is organizations say to me all the time, how do I do that? Well, let me tell you something. That's awesome because you already have the data in your organization. You know, there's a stat, and it's not on the slide, and it's not part of the 46.5% of stats that are made up on the spot. But there's a stat that says 85% of organizations have this more than 100 terabytes of unstructured data and have no cooking clue what to do with it. That's bonkers, right? That makes me crazy because data is digital gold. Now, think about this, right? You wanting to be able to do things faster with the data you already have to solve time in your calendar and give yourself some more open space. Well, let's continue. What happens with organizations is a lot of the time when they look at digitally transforming and changing the way they do things in order to give time back to their employees, they go and buy themselves, I'm going to use the American term because I love it, software, right? And when you go and look at the concept of buying software as a service, or it's interesting because people just think that software is going to solve their problems, and it's not, right? It's not going to solve all your problems. But people think that, organizations think that, oh, my employees are struggling to fulfill their daily tasks. Let me go and buy a app off the shelf. Oh, guys, I can't tell you how much of a bad idea that is. Okay. It solves some problems, but it doesn't solve all of them. And the reason is because every single person in your business is doing that. Every single person in your business is going and buying a software as a service app to solve a problem. And what does that lead to? You need to make sure the data is integrated and stuff moves between departments. I can tell you now, if Anna and I decide one day that we were going to start a business and we were two separate departments, we would be passing Excel spreadsheets between one another. I know that for a fact. The other thing that people do is they do custom development, which is awesome. I'm an ex-coder, by the way. I'm better now, but I used to work for a company called Borland before I moved to Microsoft some time back. And Borland wrote a tool called Delphi. It was a pretty cool development tool, right? But it allowed me to build custom things. But I'll tell you something interesting. Custom code leaves you with a thing called technical debt. You have to have the framework to support that solution. So what I will say is that when I look at using tools like the Microsoft Stack, they fill in all those digital gaps and provide me with the ability to do things faster. Now, if I go into nerd mode, the Power Platform is a Microsoft tool, right? I'm not going to go into too much detail about all of this. I'll be happy to send you guys links later on. But the Power Platform allows me to build solutions quicker. You've got a thing called Power BI, which allows me to analyze data and get a visual on all that data. You've got a thing called Power Apps, which allows me to interact with that data. And we call it the ACT layer, right? So I can put data in and get data out. Think about like a wind turbine inspection, right? So somebody running around doing those inspections, they can use a tablet and put data in. That is an app. We've got the automation layer, which allows data to move progressively between points. So like I was saying, when I said Anna and I were going to start a business, what I could quite easily do is use automation to send Anna that information. I don't have to manually give it to her anymore, right? It's like the wind, okay? And there's my wind turbine reference, by the way. It's like the wind. You know it's there. You can feel the results, but you don't necessarily see it, and that's your automation layer. And then Power Virtual Agents, your assistance layer. Not everyone can use an app, right? The ability to interact with data through what you call a Q&A experience or a bot, all right? And those elements of the Power Platform, these digital building bricks, if any of you play Lego, this is basically digital Lego. It allows you to build solutions really fast. Now look at the types of solutions that are being built. It's everything from personal productivity, something to solve my problem that I have. It's organization-wide. Things like return to work solutions. COVID sucks, folks. We know it does. But basically, how do we go back to work? You're going to need an app to go and book desks. Use the Power Platform. You can build that without writing a single line of code. So when you go back and look at your calendar and you think, hey, I'm going to build a solution to help me, instead of spending 40 days on a solution, what about 40 hours? And that's the whole idea. You're building in weeks, not months. The whole concept behind the Power Platform that Microsoft pitches to save you time. All right. Now, I know that that's all fluffy stuff. But when you take a look at the types of organizations using the Power Platform, there's hundreds of them. I'll tell you what, folks, if you've ever gotten on an Arriva bus in London, congratulations, you've used the Power Platform. If you ever used an open canopy tour bus to go on a tour of the city in a different country, big bus tours, congratulations, you've used the Power Platform. If you've ever been to Disneyland, congratulations, you've used the Power Platform. If you've ever used Lego, congratulations, you've engaged in the Power Platform. If you've ever been on Virgin Atlantic flights and they've had to reseat you, congratulations, you've used the Power Platform. Essentially, this stuff is everywhere. It's like oxygen. It basically fills the digital air with this amazing technology to help you solve problems. One of my favorite sayings of all time, and I hope some of you have a tear in your eye right now, so if you jump off Tinder and Candy Crush, this will hopefully give you some insight, but the amazing Tony Stark during Avengers Endgame, and yes, I'm a nerd, you guys have got to deal with it, right? He said, no amount of money ever bought you a second of time. I want you to think about that real quick. And if I go back to my calendar screenshot, my company can pay me millions of pounds every day, and I wish they would, but they don't. And I could go ahead and do amazing things, but time is the thing that matters. You know, when you look at what Microsoft said, they want to enable every organization and every person on the planet to do more. It's all about time. It's how you use your time. If you're going to spend your time doing things manually and writing custom code, go ahead. But tools like the Power Platform give you the ability to build things faster. You can create applications within minutes. I was saying to Rebecca when we were chatting in the previous call, and you guys weren't there obviously, but I said to her, hey, I can build you an app in 30 seconds. And we were laughing about it, but it's the truth, I can. And that's the thing, I can use technology to save me time, okay? So folks, what I want to say to you, if you take anything from this presentation, is number one, your calendar matters, okay? Your time matters. Money is not worth it. Yes, it's important, but it's not worth it. Use your time wisely. Number two, when you start looking at what you're doing with your time, use technology to fill those gaps. Do things faster. You don't have to work hard, okay? You have to work smart, all right? And number three, the Power Platform is that set of digital building bricks that helps you save time, okay? Build things that are going to make your jobs easier, right? Spend time talking to people and integrating with people, not on things that don't matter, like manually capturing data into an Excel sheet. So I know that that's 20 minutes, and I want to thank you all very, very much for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you for using this time with me, and I really hope you guys have got some questions, because I'll be brutally honest, and I'm a bit of a Tarantino fan, so you'll always get the direct response, not the BS response. So thank you very much once again.
Thank you, Chris, and impeccable timing, because I was just about to cut you off. So you may have noticed our timer hasn't been slightly working. So we have had a technical issue this morning, which is all well and good. So I'm just going to, before we get some Q&A, so please put your thoughts, challenges. We're all pretty open and direct here, so we encourage any feedback as well as questions. So I'm going to start us off, and one of my big things, and you touched upon it slightly, was about the data. We have organizations that have got terabytes of data.
Yeah.
But is that data the right quality? Because we always hear the excuse, we can't do digital transformation, we can't automate because we don't have the right data. And we have probably a very good example within our own organizations, our own organization at the moment. We are drowning a bit in Excel spreadsheets, and we don't know which version of the truth we do have. So how do we overcome that gap of saying, well, my data's not good enough, so I can't automate, I can't make efficiencies?
Yeah, so that's an amazing question. The way I'm going to respond to it is, first of all, every organization is super different, right, as far as data goes. So don't think that you know, you're going to be the same as anyone else. The other thing that you need to know is you're not alone in this challenge. Every organization's got the same issue. The way that I like to frame data is, number one, data is digital gold. It really is. It's the thing that matters the most in your organization. When you take a look at all these events that have gone on, every person that stands on stage in a lovely dress or suit and tie says to you, data is gold. You must get as much of it as you can. The response, I guess, is I like to gauge or weight data depending on the importance of it. So things like master data is probably the most important, whereas things like, you know, general relative data is not as important. There's no direct, I would say, how do I put this? I don't think there's a direct solution in sorting data out. There's millions of solutions to do it. What you need to do is you need to figure out what's important first. And once you've done that, that's when you start looking at data solutions like leveraging tools such as Azure, data warehousing, and that kind of thing to centralize your data. But the most important thing I will say is, with data, try and get it as clean as possible and as central as possible, and then treat it like absolute gold, right? The biggest thing that I've found in organizations is a thing called Excel Armageddon, where they've got millions of Excel spreadsheets and there's no centralization of data. That's your first problem. In any scenario in the world, whenever you go and deliver a solution, data is the first thing you should look at. So yeah, the direct answer is there's no pointed solution. It's always going to be dependent on what's going on in your business.
I will never give up Excel, by the way. Just putting it out there.
I know.
Excel,
I was actually taking a stab.
it will never. My life is run by Excel, and I will. But that's maybe a generational thing because I'm not the most technical from these power apps and that. So it's maybe something I need to explore to see what can help. A couple other bits and pieces, and then I'll sort of maybe bring Anna into the conversation from a different perspective. And it's interesting how you talk about our diaries are maxed out. Is that a comfort zone? We're comfortable being busy because it means we're being productive. Oh, I've got a full calendar. I'm very productive. I'm a very busy person. How many times do we actually turn up to meetings and it's more a case of I can sit and have a cup of tea and listen to somebody else chatting for an hour, but I say I've been busy.
Oh, Rebecca, you have just hit the nail on the head. So I'm going to tell you something. Productivity is not always parallel to being busy. It's perpendicular. So it's like that. It's not like that. And the reason I say it is because, you know, this exact call, I can tell you right now, statistically, of the 41 attendees on this call right now, at least 20 of you are looking at Outlook or chilling back and, you know, putting your feet up. It's not productivity. So you may be learning something, I hope. I can tell you right now, I was on a call yesterday for 2 hours. Do you know of, I'll say 8 minutes of that 2 hours, I did something productive. The rest of the time I was building an app because I was like, well, this is completely irrelevant to me, right? I mean, I'll be here because people need to see my face. But when you're in front of people, it's really tough. But I love that you said that. So just please understand that productivity is never, ever paralleled to your diary being packed out. I will be honest with you. When I was working at Microsoft before I joined Avanade, I was in an organization called OCP, which was the partner org in Microsoft. I know there's an acronym. And I'm telling you, I automated my whole job. Without kidding you, I basically got paid to chill there and do very little. I automated my entire job. And that's great because that's productivity at its best. So I spent 8 hours a day networking and it was awesome. It was really great. And I love doing it. And actually they even gave me a little trophy for it. You can't see it, but it's in the background. Like that's productivity, my friends. Okay, so Rebecca, to answer your question, a packed diary, being comfortable with being uncomfortable is fine, but busy diaries are never paralleled with productivity. And yeah. I can actually see some questions in the chat. I'll just look now.
Yeah, I'm going to ask Anna about her thoughts on that because we in the Net Zero Technology Centre, our diaries are always busy. And do you think we can do something different in our organisation?
Do you mean there's room for automation maybe to help us?
Automation or just being able to say we don't have to be in, our diaries don't have to be maxed out. Can we take ownership of it? Do you think that would work for us?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's always room for a little bit of optimization. And I thought that's an interesting thing that Chris mentioned with having been able to automate his work. I think that can be a concern when you talk about automation, that people feel like it might make them redundant or it might impact their jobs. Chris, do you think that that's a barrier? The trust is a barrier in this type of applications? Do people resist a little bit? Or is that not an issue?
Oh, totes. Everyone resists. It's human nature. That's what we were built for, folks. Anna, if you think about when you get told to do something, do you like being told to do something? It's like filling in timesheets. You don't want to do it, but you have to. The trick is to make people want to. You have to make it awesome, right? And that's the thing. It's like this call right now. Everyone's on this call because they want to be here. They don't have to be here. And yeah, I'm hoping that people experience the awesome, but that's the thing, right? It's really about just making sure that people can adopt really great things that help them. And you know, with Rebecca, I'm going to make it my life's goal to change your Excelness. But I can tell you right now, there are easier ways to do things. That's going to save you time, a lot of time. But you are going to resist.
Probably that's maybe again one of the questions in the chat around in terms of time management. What would you say we would benefit from learning how to break these habits? Because you know, I'm probably a typical example. How would I benefit from breaking that habit? And is it getting the time back? Is it productivity, or is it being more effective in just clearing my head a bit? I don't know. What is that? What is it that we're trying to do or to achieve? And it maybe ties into another comment as well, is what is the balance between time versus speed? Because if we free up ourselves to do more things, are we just filling it with something else? And will things ever slow down? Is this just the way we live now, that everything seems to be a million miles an hour?
Yeah, I struggle with that, and I don't know how you feel about it, but ultimately, you brought up a great point. Okay, so I'm going to say something that's probably going to upset everyone, but I don't really care. Like, you have to train people. You have to train people to treat you the way you want to be treated, right? And if you decide that you're going to be this awesome legend that's going to fill your time with, you know, building solutions to help others, you're training people to use you as that person to do that. Okay, and that's important, right? You guys saw, so I'm hoping I'm still presenting. I'm going to show you guys something real quick. Check this out. Okay, so this is my live calendar. Yeah, I train people to leave me the hell alone in that time. They do, and if they book something there, I'm not going to do it because I've trained them. You have to train people to treat you the way you want to be treated, right? And that's the thing. If you want to fill your time with building really, really awesome solutions to solve people's problems, that's what people are going to use you for. So do it and be awesome. But as I said before, if that's your goal, yeah, that's your goal. But just remember, it's your way, right? You allow people to let you do that, not anyone else. And how do you feel? I mean, I'm pretty sure you have a lot of people that are demanding on your time, right?
Yeah, and I guess it can be a challenge to define the limits of where you allow people to take control of your time as well. So I guess it's always an exercise of understanding the limits for yourself and for the team of everyone's workload. And I think maybe this situation of working remotely has created more openness to this type of technologies and of automation solutions that help us manage our time, where we're all more proficient using remote meetings and in using solutions that contribute to that. Has that been what you've observed as well with using Power Apps and this type of technology?
Absolutely, yeah. The Power Apps, the apps piece is pretty amazing, right? Like, I kind of feel as if I've had to have a mindset shift, if I'm honest. And the reason is because, you know, before, when I was running around traveling all over the show, I just didn't really have time to build stuff and create things. And with the platform, it's given me the ability to, I guess, do things faster and solve problems quicker. Let me give you an example. So recently, we were running a hackathon, and I was tracking all of the registrants in Excel, and it was super manual. Like, it was really difficult. So what I did was I said, okay, Chris, are you going to do this every single time you have a hackathon? Because we do this all the time, like in the community groups we're in. Or am I going to spend 40 hours, build the solution, and then save myself 20 hours every single time I run the hack? And that's what I did. So I spent time building the solution. Look, it's not perfect, but it needs some work, but you know, it's good enough. And yeah, now when we run hackathons, I save myself 20 hours just because of the fact that I created something in the beginning. So I'm spending my time wisely, right? And that was important to me more so than anything else. But look, it's entirely down to the person, I think. And it's quite scary, because what folks don't realize, and I'm hoping people get something from this, is that your own personal productivity is your own, right? No, a manager can dictate to an extent what you do and how you use your diary. But if you automate your entire job, you can spend time doing stuff that you want to do. So like, that's what I did. I just said, well, hey, I'm so bored of doing X, so I'm going to automate it and then do Y. I mean, I'll show you something interesting. Like, you can basically solve at least 50% of your job to an extent with technology. But people are afraid of it because they think it's going to take their job, and that's not the point. It's never going to take your job. Nothing will take your job. It will improve the way you do things. So, I mean, it's a long-winded answer, but you know, it's just a perception.
And I think that's the kind of where Ian's put in the Q&A, you know, seeing the role of being productive. Is that more individual, or should it be the organisations, or hybrid? And one of my I suppose where I'm coming from this is, yes, organizations should help manage time and not pull on it so much as if they can. But I think individuals need to take some ownership, and whether it's using automation, whether it's just managing your productivity, but every single one of us never finishes at the end of the day, whether it's a 5 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, whatever your working day looks like. Nobody that I know of ever says, oh, well, that's me finished all my work, I don't have anything else to do. Right. So sometimes I think we have to kind of embrace this productivity or time management to actually, we may help get to the bottom of the to-do list. And that hybrid approach is maybe the way we have to go, that we have to look at ourselves and say, well, actually, if I automate or put other process or work smarter, I will never give up Excel still. I will use my Excel more efficiently. But yeah, maybe it is, we all have to take our own ownership and not expect our organizations to manage our time for us as well.
I've just seen one of the best questions in the chat from Pamela.
Yes.
Genuinely, that is a phenomenal question. For those of you that aren't looking at the chat, Pamela's written, what's the impact of automation on creative, informal collaboration? How can we best encourage productive collaboration in the online space when everything is so regimented? I'm going to be honest with you, there's no short answer to this. I'm going to do my level best to paraphrase, but basically, think of it as collaboration is more important than filling in an Excel document, right? So I want you to think of this, right? I would never automate collaboration, ever, literally ever. And even informal collaboration is more important than formal collaboration, in my opinion. And I'll tell you why. Because the relationship you build with people is far more important than any data in any spreadsheet. In fact, if anyone assumes that data is more valuable than this, you're wrong. I'll tell you straight up, right? So that question, I would love to actually screenshot this because I think it's such a great point. When we talk about automation around doing mundane BS tasks that you would normally do and spend your time on rather than collaborating, that's a problem. So I would say the automation replaces the mundane. And the fun is the collaboration piece. And that's the part that I love. And I'm so glad you asked that question, because when I talk about interacting with people, that's the part of the job that I would never automate ever. That's the part that I want to do more of. I mean, when I was chatting to Rebecca in the very beginning and Hannah, the team, I love the collaboration piece. That was the part that was the most important. And Anna, I want to fire this over to you, because I guess, you're part of the whole organization. Like, do you find that you would prefer interacting rather than doing those mundane tasks?
Definitely. And I do agree with you that there are certain things that automation cannot replace. Computers cannot do everything for us. Yeah. Some parts of everyone's jobs are more enjoyable than others. And I guess the ones that can be automated are the ones that are often time consuming and repetitive. And the more enjoyable part, the collaborative bits and the things that involve more creative thinking, those are things that we probably still cannot automate and cannot get machines to do for us. So I think there's definitely an advantage in being able to automate the things that are repetitive and that are can be performed by machines, and leave more time for the things that we can that we cannot automate, and it will make us more productive as a bottom line. Totally.
I love that you said that. Like, human beings were built for interaction, not for mundane stuff. And I always felt like throughout the whole story of humanity, when you look at all the history of like the way the world has grown, this period of time right now is like the fifth industrial revolution sort of thing, is that we're changing completely. We're being pushed more to interact and do less in the mundane stuff, which is very exciting. But at the same time, it's terrifying. And using things like artificial intelligence. And by the way, I don't think Arnold Schwarzenegger or Neo from the Matrix are going to bust through the clouds and start killing robots. I don't think your kitchen appliances are going to come to life, AI type of thing. I think it's more using it to effectively help us do stuff we don't necessarily want to do. And that's what the Power Platform does. It gives you that ability to build things that you would never have built before. to solve a lot of problems that you could never have solved before.
And I think Rory sort of made that bit of a point as well, and outlined some of these power apps, which I'm now actually intrigued. I'm going to have to go and have a look and see, but that could get myself into a whole lot of mess.
Yes.
I'm still not giving up Excel just yet. So Rory's saying, can that type of solution, the power apps, can they be integrated with the traditional softwares that we use in business, some of the enterprise systems, etc.? So how do we link it all together, or we are just creating another smaller cottage industry of individual sort of automation, but not actually helping the overall organization?
This is a phenomenal question, and Rory, kudos, because I can see that you've done your homework from a tech perspective. But you've got to remember what an ERP is. So if you think, just to deconstruct the acronym, ERP is Enterprise Resource Planning, or and I kind of feel as if a Power App, which is one digital brick in the Power Platform, helps you engage that software a lot better than you normally would. Now, let me give you an example. When you look at a product like SAP, right? So SAP is a phenomenal product, but the user experience is not so phenomenal sometimes. Same with some of the Microsoft products. You get these amazing things, but the UX is not great. And how do you get people on board with using it, right? You can build an app on top of it to help you solve those problems. Now, Rebecca, you mentioned that you don't want to create smaller cottage industries. The point of the Power Platform is it's not meant to be something separate. It weaves in between everything you've got. It fills all the digital gaps. So like I said, it's a bit like oxygen or water, where it's meant to fill the gaps that you guys see you have. And the answer is yes, it can integrate with any solution you want, literally anything. So if you've got SAP, Oracle, Salesforce, Microsoft, I can rattle off a bunch of big brands. You can integrate it with it like this. So if I wanted to right now, I could go ahead and build you a Power App on top of Salesforce or SAP without much of a problem. The only difference is that I would need to engage in the business logic a bit better. So I don't see Power Apps as replacing, I see it augmenting.
Perfect. So our 20 minutes Q&A is up, and there is a couple more questions in the chat. So Blair and somebody else has asked about what your favorite app is. So for those questions, we will hold them. And please come into our network session and go into our breakout room. The link is now in the chat function. So I encourage those that have still maybe got questions or want to know more, join us for the next 20 minutes in our networking room. Let's say the link to that is in the chat function. So with the best will in the world, we're all going to leave this room and move over into the other one. So we'll see you on the other side.